If you're going away this year, I've got 10 travel games that are great to play on holiday. Small enough to fit in your bag and don't need a massive table. And they're perfect for that awkward conversation when they open your baggage at the airport. Our first game is so perfect to take on holiday that I can tell you the name of it and where you can play it in one word. Seaside. Seaside is not the best game in the world, but it is the best game in the world that you can play at the beach, in the sand. You don't need a table, you don't even need a flat surface. Finally, you can free yourself from the shackles of this hobby and play in the sand like you've always dreamed of. You don't even need dry hands. You could play this game at mankind's greatest invention, a swim-up bar, with a pina colada in your hand, your body in the water, and your head in the game. Due to budget constraints, I've sadly not been able to stage that scenario for this video. Please support me on Patreon. With every turn of Seaside, you take a token out of the bag, this handy bag that you carry the game around in. This game is not like other girls. It doesn't need a table, it doesn't even wear a box. How very Parisian. Every token is double-sided and you choose which one to go with. Depending on what you get, it will either go in your seaside or in the sea. The sea is a shared area that collects all the creatures, crabs, shells, and isopods, which are the woodlice of the sea. If it goes in the sea, it's not yours, it's the sea's, but hopefully you'll come back later to steal it. Like if you draw a sandpiper, a bird who loves isopods, every day's a school day, you can snaffle all the isopods in the sea to your seaside. Now they're your points. See? The reward for selflessly adding a creature to the sea is that you get to draw from the bag again, so it can become a game of pushing your luck, filling up the sea with creatures in the hope you'll eventually draw what you need to steal them. Your second rock gets you all the crabs, beaches let you take as many shells as you have beaches, and waves don't get you anything right now, but at the end of the game, the player with the most waves gets everything left in the sea, and that can be huge. I've seen someone push and push, filling up the sea just so they can empty the bag, which finishes the game, and they got 15 creatures in one turn. That was a great comeback for the player in last place. But if your turn ends and you don't get those creatures, you've now handed them on a plate to the next player. Once the bag is dry, you stack up all the tokens in your seaside and compare. The player with the biggest haul wins. I love that simplicity. It's such an easy game to teach, and that's exactly what you want when the sun's beating down on you at the beach. It isn't the cleverest game you'll ever play, but there's just enough to keep a gamer like me interested. And it's one you will actually play. It won't sit on your shelf because you can never find the right opportunity. Seaside is bright, breezy, and a lovely way to spend the day. And so's the game. If your family likes a word game, let me recommend you one that's quicker than Scrabble and doesn't need a big space to play it like Bananagrams. And it comes with a beach towel for a hamster. Typeset is all about trying to create words against the odds as the game throws letters at you. On your personal board, you have 6 rows, room for 6 words, and every turn the game gives you a letter. You must add that to your board, either by starting a new word or adding it to the end of an existing word. Except they're not words yet, are they? These fledgling syllables are your babies. You have no idea how they're going to end up, but you've got hopes and dreams for them. Little C here is going to grow up to be classic or college, something daddy can be really proud of. Because a 7-letter word scores you 10 points. But bit by bit, you will sell out those dreams. The L you needed to send your kid to college hasn't come up, and you can't afford to wait. You have to add this F somewhere. So you give it to your baby. And now all she'll amount to is coffee, or end up in a coffin. And they're only 6-letter words. As in life, as soon as you go down one path, you close yourself off to so many other opportunities. It's fascinating building words letter by letter, realizing that certain letters are a sharp turn down a cul-de-sac with no way out. If you like exploring words in Wordle, you'll get the same kick out of Typeset. But if you're too idealistic, every time you get a letter you don't want, you'll start a new word with it, hoping they can all end up perfect. But now you've got nowhere to put a dodgy letter, so you end up ruining one by giving it a letter it can't handle. And fake words score minus points at the end of the game. The true typeset experience is playing this game once with naive optimism and ending up with a mess of a board, then insisting on immediately playing it again armed with a streetwise cynicism and doing slightly better. Realizing that a finished word with a solid 4-letter job is much better than a child prodigy who amounts to nothing. Where the game becomes really interesting is how you use your special abilities to fix your problems. You can add vowels to any word at any time by crossing them out, but you've only got a limited supply. And if you manage to use all 6 vowels, you unlock a wild letter. These are the lifesavers you need to have any hope of sending your daughter to college, but you've got to jump through the right hoops to get them. The toughest decision is when to call it quits. You can only bow out at the end of a round, but some of your words won't be finished. You can see which letters have already come out, and it's so tempting to stay in for that one letter you really need. But if you stay in, you'll have to take all 5 letters of the next round, and how much damage could they cause? Still, no one will remember your 5 failures if one child makes it to Hollywood. If you're traveling by yourself, you'll need a solo game you can play anywhere. And my tip for you is Food Chain Island. It comes in a tiny plastic wallet you can slip into your pocket or lodge in any notable crevices, so even nudists can enjoy it. You start with a grid of animals, and each turn you will move an animal, making it eat one of the animals next to it by covering it up. But this is a food chain. They can only eat animals slightly smaller than them. The wolf, number 11, can only eat the lynx, the fox, and the raccoon. And then the gator can eat the wolf, and the polar bear can eat the gator. Which must be what happens in real life, or they wouldn't put it in a game, would they? The goal is to clear out this grid, eat all the animals one by one, so you're left with one big stack. In essence, you're creating the ultimate turducken, a delicious roasted polar bear stuffed with 15 other animals, each a matryoshka for the next. Only then is Mother Nature's sadistic plan complete. Where it gets tricky is they can only eat what's directly next to them and don't always start next to their prey. But by eating, they get to move, so that can set them up for a feeding spree, or get them closer to their predator to be devoured themselves and continue this beautiful cycle. The magic sauce is that each animal has a special ability that you get to use when they eat something. When the ant eats, you can move another animal 1 to 3 spaces around the grid, setting things up nicely for later. But it's not all good news. The bigger animals make things harder. When the polar bear eats, he can't eat again next turn because he's intermittent fasting, so you have to plan around that. The game ends when you can't make a move and you count how many animals are visible. Any more than 3 and you've lost, but the ultimate victory is to have 1 stack remaining. It's like a modern alternative to solitaire, but rather than your chances of victory being determined by the shuffle, those powers always make you feel like you can win if you can just work out the right way to use them. And it has this chilled, pensive vibe that would be great to play at sunset after a long day of hiking or sightseeing. All the best card games have one thing in common. They flow. Like a good conversation, there's never any awkward pauses. You say something, someone else responds, there's a constant back and forth, and everyone feels involved. That's what I like about Jungo. It's got rhythm. I play a card, the next player follows, and it's back to me before I know it, cycling around the table. It's the joy of a long rally in tennis, with every hit extending this limbo that you never want to end. You're trying to get rid of your cards, but each play must be stronger than the last. If I play 1-5, the next player must beat it by playing a higher number, or 2 of the same number. It's a conversation of one-upmanship. I tell my anecdote about meeting Beyoncé, you outdo me with meeting all of Destiny's Child. The twist is that you can't move around the cards in your hand, and you can only play cards together if they're next to each other. This creates a fun internal struggle as you try to play cards to get them out of the way, reuniting a family of estranged 8s so you can unleash them on your opponents. When you pull it off, it feels incredible because you've been secretly crafting it all game, just waiting to show it off to the group. But you know with every turn, everyone else's hand is becoming better aligned, and the fear is that they unleash their beast before yours is ready. If no one can beat someone's set, those cards get burnt, and they can start again, a prime chance to clear out their hand. But it's not a foregone conclusion. If you can't beat what's on the table, the game gives you a second chance. You draw a card off the deck, and you can put it anywhere you want in your hand. If you can combine it with a set that's big enough to beat what's on the table, you immediately play it and shout Jungo, checking first that it's not a swear word in the place you're holidaying. It means there's always a chance. Other players are watching, hoping you'll get what you need to keep the round alive. And if you do, it's like you dive to the floor to keep the rally going. It makes the game feel hopeful. You're never completely stuck. And even if you don't get a Jungo, you don't have to keep that card. It's not a punishment, just a potential lifeline. It's the same when you beat someone's set. You can choose to take their cards into their hand if it will help, but you don't have to. Many of you will have spotted the similarities with the card game Scout, which is a deeper game than Jungo. But for me, Scout doesn't flow. The extra options each turn lead to overthinking and it slows the game down. If Scout is a dense meal, Jungo is some light tapas. Both have their place, but I know which one I want on holiday with a beer. A holiday is not always the best time to be playing a game, when you want to be swimming in the pool or lounging at the beach. What you need is a game you can play for when you're not playing a game. Don't Get Got is a game you play in the background. It's always on, like the air conditioning, or the spy camera hiding in your Airbnb. You are playing it throughout the day or week, even when you're playing other games. The goal is to catch the other players out. You're all given secret missions to complete that require you to get another player to do something without them realizing they're being tricked. Like convincing another player to let you try on an item of clothing they're wearing, which might not work if they've got their swimsuit on, or convince someone to switch seats with you. The beauty is you can wait until the restaurant later, pick the right time to pounce. But how do you bring it up? Are you going to come up with an elaborate reason why you need to swap seats, or just play it cool and ask them? You can't make it too obvious, because if they realize it's a mission, you've failed. It's dead. That's why you bide your time. Get them when their guard is down, or when their blood alcohol level is high. You only have 5 missions, so the pressure is on. And when you start an attempt, it's so tense. It's like trying to get into a nightclub when you're underage. You say one wrong word and your night is ruined. So when you actually get away with it, it feels incredible. You got, you shout right in their face, as if there was never any doubt. In this game, you get to deceive your friends, feel good about it, and rub it in their faces. For only £10, you get to be a sociopath without the prison sentence. And the anger you feel at being conned is amazing. Why would you think they wanted to swap chairs? You're not just a loser, but you're stupid as well. Determined to not let another mission get past you, you go on high alert. Anytime someone opens their mouth, you're ready to shout them down. Yet somehow, in a sea of paranoia, you can still grab a win, and those are the best. At any time, you can say, "Guess what?" to another player, and if they naively reply, "What?" you claim another point. Everyone knows that that mission is in there. It shouldn't be a surprise. So when someone pulls it off, it's so good. And it works because you can't be on high alert all day, especially when you're on holiday, so it's the perfect place to play it. And this is a new travel pack that comes in a tin, which is small enough to take anywhere. So do get Don't Get Got, or any of the games in this video, using the links below to support the channel. I ran a poll on the channel asking what player count you need when going on holiday, and most people wanted games for 2 players. And I'm delighted and surprised so many of you have found love. Soltsis is a game that's perfect to play with your partner. It's a little bit of a table hog. This one needs a picnic bench or 2 sun loungers pushed together because you're each building your own panorama. And because it's made up of these delightful little tiles, it's hardier than a card game, so it can handle some rogue tzatziki that's missed your mouth. You're collecting the tiles and adding them to your panorama, but it's not a typical tile laying game. You're not choosing where they go. They all have a fixed position, a row and a column where they live. You're just trying to make as complete a picture as possible, because you score a point for every tile in your biggest connected group, which is such an intuitive thing because that's exactly what your brain wants you to do, to make a neat and tidy picture that looks nice, instead of this mess you've got right now. Except when that picture is your desk, your brain doesn't care about that. But the trouble is, there's only one of each tile, and your opponent will be snatching half of them for their panorama. It's devastating when you've got your heart set on a tile to join everything up, and you look over and see that they've already got it. It's like asking your crush to go to prom and your nemesis has already asked them. To get tiles, you play one from your hand that has the same color or number as one in the display. If you play one that doesn't match, you get a second chance. You flip a new tile, and if that matches, you get them, which is a fun little gamble to try and get something better than what's in your hand. But if the second chance fails, you get a rainbow tile, which you can place anywhere. They are vital for joining up the gaps in your panorama, especially when the tile you need is betrothed to your opponent. But it's only one tile instead of the usual two. So like wearing a mankini, you're getting less coverage, but it's exactly where you need it to be. The other thing you desperately want is to complete these 2x2 groups, because that gets you a spirit. Spirits are the cool special bit that make you different, like a belly button piercing or a lower back tattoo, so of course you want it. Spirits either give you an extra tile to fill up your panorama or an extra way to score points, and the lure of them is so strong you'll overlook the tile you need to join everything up just so you can get that spirit, which you'll regret later, but everyone at college thinks it looks really cool. If you play with the Firefly expansion, whenever you finish 2x2 groups in the same turn, you get a Firefly, and if you manage to win 4 Fireflies, you immediately win the game. I love that level of jeopardy, and now you've got to watch out your opponent doesn't steal your crush and your job. I'm not usually an expansion guy, but I love these tiny expansion packs that give you the thrill of adding something new but without overwhelming you, and crucially, it all fits in the box. If you've only got space for one game, you need something flexible, and Flip 7 will play from 3 to 18 players ages 5 to 105, and you could play it with anyone, from the most brain-dead jocks to the saddest of goths, as long as you're not in direct sunlight. And that's because it's one of the simplest games you'll ever play, that's all about pushing your luck. Every turn you decide whether to stick or twist. If you twist, you get a card off the deck. A 10 is worth 10 points, but it also means there's 10 of them in the deck. And when it comes back to you, if you twist again and get another 10, you go bust and score nothing for that round. So every time you're playing the odds. If you've got a 2, there's only one other in the deck, so there's no way you'll go bust. But as you start to rack up the numbers, you're adding more bullets to the chamber in this game of Russian roulette. You're bound to blow your brains out eventually. You can stick instead, bank your points. But how can you bear to do that when everyone else has more than you? The game is a race to get to 200 points, and the further behind you are, the more it encourages you to take silly risks. And if you ever manage to flip 7 cards without going bust, you get an extra 15 points for your bravery. Another incentive to keep flipping. Flip 7 is such a pure distillation of gambling. You get seduced by fate, telling yourself, one more won't hurt. What if I'm the chosen one that flips 7 cards and wins the game? That's possible, isn't it? Don't tell me the odds, just tell me it's possible. And then probability brings you crashing back down to earth. No, you're not special. All those points gone to waste, your ego in tatters, only for you to forget it all next round and do it again. The best thing about Flip 7 is it's such a communal game because the cards come out one by one. You're all awaiting your fate together, like holding your plate out at the school canteen, waiting to see what the dealer will slop onto it. And it really heightens the tension as you all go back for seconds and thirds, and then someone goes bust. And that bullet could have hit you. Does their tragedy scare you off from carrying on, or make you think you're safe because lightning won't strike again so soon, right? And the game throws in some special cards to make it even spicier. When you draw Flip 3, you can play it on someone else and force them to flip 3 more cards, hopefully sending them bust. And Second Chance is a free life. You can go bust and not get hurt. And now, just in time for summer, they've released it in a smaller box, so you've got space for another game in your bag as well. Pixies is another small card game that flows, and this one is really nice as a couples travel game because it's great at 2 players, but still fun at 3 and 4 as well, like a hot tub or a medium-sized bar of chocolate. The idea is you're collecting these pixies and each forming a little family of them in front of you, so it does need some table space. Every turn, you take a pixie from the few available and put it in your grid. Each pixie has to go in its numbered spot, so your options are small. Often you don't have a choice at all, but that's what helps it flow, and the little decisions here and there make a real difference. Like when you take a second card of the same number, you now decide which card stays face up in your grid. You took this yellow 5 before, but as your grid has evolved, you're not feeling it anymore, so you replace it and pivot to green instead. The yellow goes underneath, validating that number, which means you get 5 points at the end of the round. So validating the 8 and the 9 is what you really want. And that's a lesson for us. 8s and 9s need validation too. The reason to switch is because you're trying to fill your grid with all the same color. At the end of the round, you score your biggest connected group of one color. And in the final round, it's 4 points per card, so it's massive. Some cards are wild, they count for every color, so they really help connect up your colors. But good cards come with downsides. These X's are minus points, the dowry for welcoming a celebrity pixie into your family. Whereas these pixies give you spirals, which are worth a point each. So we must assume they're pixie criminals. The round ends when someone completes their grid, and it can happen way quicker than you'd like before you've validated anything. So you need to be careful which cards to leave for your opponent in case it ends the round. In a 2-player game, the decisions are a little more interesting because there's 4 cards to pick from and you'll get 2 of them. So you have to consider which one to grab first in case your opponent wants it. The Flower Power expansion makes things trickier. It adds some dual color pixies, which help with connecting colors, but punish you for having a certain color in your family. So some kind of racist grandparent pixie. And there's now big incentives for face down cards, which you get by taking a number that you've already validated. I like what it adds, but I could live without it. Pixies is a humble game. It doesn't wow you with flashy moments, but the smooth gameplay, light rules, tiny but important decisions, it slowly, steadily wins you round. It might not seem like much, but take it from someone who's played 40-something small games to make this video. This game stood out, even though it doesn't stand out, if you get my drift. To hear about some of the games which didn't make this list, I've made an exclusive video for my patrons and YouTube members. My friend visited from the States this week and brought 2 games with him. Quinto from my last travel video, and Trio, which is a brilliant choice. I was very proud of him. But next time I bring the games, okay? In Trio, you're trying to find trios, 3 of the same number. They're hiding somewhere across everyone's hands. And every turn you go hunting for them. You ask another player to reveal their highest or lowest card. Okay, you found a 12. Now you've got to find another one. Ask someone else for their highest. Or even yourself if you've got one. But as soon as you fish and catch the wrong thing, you'll bust. It's the next person's turn. Yes, it's a memory game, but that's no longer a crime because Trio has made them fun again. Something about each card being connected to a friend around the table makes it easier to remember. Phil has a 12, Will has an 11, and Mark wet himself during the school play. Some things you don't forget. There's no greater feeling than reaching to the bottom of your mind, past all the friends quotes and childhood phone numbers, and remembering who has that number 7 card from 8 turns ago. In that moment, it's John 1, aging 0. I might have grey hair, but my grey matter is in sparkling Technicolor. Of course, if you consistently fail to remember anything, that won't feel great. But on the plus side, you'll soon forget it ever happened. And it's not just memory, it's playing the odds and reading faces. Who looks nervous now you've started revealing 3s? When you've got the final part of the trio in your hand, it's like trying to sneak booze out of your parents' drinks cabinet. You're desperately hoping they don't find it on you so you can enjoy it yourself. The only downside to Trio is the box, which is a bit unnecessarily big. If you want a smaller copy, you can buy the original Japanese game called Nana, which is pocket-sized and has smaller cards so it takes up less space on the table. But beware, there are loads of counterfeit copies on the internet that steal income from the designer and publisher. I bought my real one from travelgames.co.uk. I couldn't make this video and not include Sea Salt and Paper, my favourite small box card game that you can, and therefore should, play almost anywhere. If you've already heard me rave about this game, and why shouldn't I? You don't shut up about liking pizza. Today, I'll tell you about the expansions too. In Sea Salt and Paper, you're scavenging for points. Every turn, you take a card and you're trying to collect sets of shells, penguins, and octopuses, not octopi. And that is engagement bait for all the people that speak Latin in the comments. The decision at the heart of every turn is, do you take the cards you can see floating on the surface, or do you stick your hand into the murky waters beneath and draw something unknown? I love that choice between being sensible, taking something you know you can work with, versus always feeling like you could do better. Because there's always the chance you get a mermaid, and if you manage to get all 4, you immediately win the game. So of course you keep drawing blind. Why settle for a crab when you could get a mermaid? But if you're methodical, you can turn luck to your favor. If you collect 2 crabs, you can search the discard piles to get a card you need. If you get a shark and a swimmer, you can steal a card from another player. Maybe you'll get a mermaid that way. You're racing to get points quickly because once you hit 7, you can end the round to bank them. Or you call a last chance, which means you give the other players one more turn, and if they still got more points than you, they don't get to score them and you get a bonus. It's such a power move, and one of the things I love about this game because it makes every turn tense, as you feel like you're lagging behind on points and expecting someone to last chance you at any moment. Sea Salt and Paper is a phenomenal game that completely stands on its own. It doesn't need any changes or additions to make it complete. It's already perfect. And expansions are a blight on the board game industry that trick gamers into wasting money on something that bloats their game and makes it harder to play. But these expansions come in cute little packets, and they fit in the original box, and they're teaching me how to love expansions again. The first expansion, Extra Salt, is a no-brainer. It adds 8 cards that bring new actions to the game, which really do bring out its flavor. Like the Lobster, which paired with a crab lets you search the top 5 cards of the deck. Or the Seahorse, which can act as an octopus or penguin to boost any set. The only downside is you've got more card icons to understand, but you'll soon pick it up. The second expansion, Extra Pepper, is a much bolder twist because it changes the rules. Every round you draw an event card, like this one, which means a pair of crabs lets you take a card from both discard piles. For that round, crabs become way more sought after, so it's a fun bit of variety. But where Extra Pepper gets spicy is at the end of the round, that event card is given to the player with the least points. They get the benefit next round, but only them. It's woke gone mad on steroids, and I love it. If you're lagging behind, you get a little pick-me-up. Forget your bootstraps, pull yourself up by these blue shells and get back in the action. There's even event cards which handicap the player in first place. Don't like it? Well, maybe getting loads of points early on isn't the right move anymore. You wouldn't add Extra Pepper when playing with newbies because their palates won't be ready for it, but I think it's a really cool addition for anyone who loves the game and fancies turning up the heat. Those are 10 games you should take on holiday with you. If you want to buy any of them, there are links below which support the channel. I've made a companion video to this for my patrons and YouTube members talking about 20 more travel games, good and bad. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. I'm John Perkis, thanks for watching.